I was thinking lately about old Hank Penny. Hank Penny was an old man. I don't know if he's still extant. We shared a park bench together in San Diego some years ago. Well, Hank Penny was an early Grandpa Jones. He played the banjo and the fiddle and the guitar and told tales and sang old songs. He told me on that park bench that in the early days of radio, he had been on the first coast-to-coast radio broadcast in the history of the known universe. I questioned him about that, and he said, yes, it emanated from Camden, New Jersey, and was sponsored by Standard Oil of New Jersey. He said he was in the studio tuning his instruments, and he understood that there were people out on the poles all the way across the country physically holding the wires together so they wouldn't blow down, because this would be the first time anybody was going to actually speak to millions of people all at the same time. That's extraordinary. Well, the master of ceremonies, he told me, was the great Will Rogers. Hank Penny said he overheard Will Rogers talking to the president of Standard Oil, who was there for that historic occasion. And Will Rogers said, you know, I'm about to talk to millions of people for the first time. Now, Caesar couldn't do it, Alexander couldn't do it, but I'm about to do it, so it probably better be damned important. What do you think I ought to talk about? Well, the president of Standard Oil said, Will, I think you should remind the people out there that Standard Oil of New Jersey is a service company. Will Rogers didn't understand what he meant. He walked around and thought about it for a while. Then they put him in front of the microphone and threw the switch, and there he was alive in front of all of America and parts of Mexico and Canada for the first time, millions of people. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask to offer a few remarks about Standard Oil of New Jersey, especially as regards their policy of service. Now, I didn't know what that meant, but I cast my mind back to my daddy's old ranch in Oklahoma years ago, remembered that we had a big stud bull. Talking to millions of people, you know, and the neighbors would bring their cows by for service. Now, I didn't understand what that meant. I asked my daddy, Daddy, what is this service we've been offering? And my daddy said, you're too young to know about that, son. Nature will provide that information in due course, and by the time you've got it, you'll be so glad you got it, you won't care where it came from. They always tell little kids that. Well, I was disappointed, but then my daddy went away on a selling trip. He sold lightning rods part-time for a firm out of Des Moines, Iowa. The hired hands were out stretching wire, and I was up at the big house alone. And a neighbor came by leading a cow asking for service. Well, I thought this was my opportunity to find out what that might be. I run him into the pen, closed the gate, clambered up on the top rung, sat down there to watch. My neighbor said, get down off of there, son. You're too young to know about that. And he sent me packing. Well, I was sore disappointed. But I knew around back of that pen was a high board fence. And in that fence were some knot holes. I snuck around quiet, rolled some cordwood up against the fence, clambered up on it, put my eye to one of them knot holes, and I peered through. And ladies and gentlemen, I saw right there in front of me exactly what it is Standard Oil's been doing to the people all these years.